Mirrored UVs. I had to lower this to the lowest common denominator to actually teach it. This is a very hard concept to get because it breaks a principle of UVs. The first law of UVs that a teacher is going to teach you is the fact that you cannot overlap UVs. Now, that's not always a law. That's just a rule. Rules can be broken. They have to be explained before they get broken. So we're going to explain why you do this. And why you do it, it has to do with resolution. So we're going to have to use our imagination for a second. You ready? We're going to go into our imagination box. And in our imagination box, we're going to say that this skull is a small part of a bigger character. This character, we'll put it in your head, as it has a sword, shield, armor, cloak, boots, and etc. So it's got maybe 20 other pieces that are making up the character. Well, what happens? Once was one skull that took up the huge part here of UVs. Now becomes something like this. I'm going to have to shrink it and put it over in the corner. So what happens? Well, because it's a smaller shell now, I don't have a whole lot of resolution. We're going to pretend that this area right here is, that's the area I abide by, and I'm going to set a boundary for that area. That boundary is probably going to be 800 by 800 pixels. Okay, I'm only allowed to use 800 by 800 pixels in this area. So, what I did, and what I'm going to do with you, is we're going to make a map. And I'll make it from scratch, that way you know what I'm doing. So here I have GIMP, new, 2048 by 2048, and hit OK. Now I'm going to fill this with a color, maybe a light gray. And then I'm going to get something on the internet. I chose this pattern. You can choose any pattern. It has to be high res. Look at this. This is 4,000 by 3,000. So please choose something that illustrates resolution. I just searched for steel plate, and I got this. Copy this image, and I'm going to put that into GIMP. Now, I'll click Scale, click on it, and I have 800 by 800. Okay, so that's the area where the skull needs to be. And we'll pretend that all the other stuff over here is his armor and shield and sword and whatever. So let me save this as, I'm going to call it resolution test. And then we'll go back to Blender. Highlight all the faces. Go into Image, Open Image, and then I'm going to choose that resolution test. To see that, I just go here and I turn on Textured. Okay, now this is what I want to illustrate. For right now, this looks really low res and really bad, right? Even though the texture resolution over here doesn't look bad at all. The bigger I get the UVs, the better it looks. So if I go like this, you can see now this area looks relatively well. So that's the principal UVs. Easy to understand. Now, In the next video, what I want to do is break the law. And we're going to do a setup for mirrored UVs on the skull. So I'll see you there.